Okay, so in this video, what we're going to do is I'm going to do the homework on page 89 to 90, and I'll do 17 to 31 in this video. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, so our first problem is 17. Our job now is to find the derivative and then to basically determine the value of the derivative at a certain x. Okay, so the two-step process. So we'll do 17 first. So 17 I'm going to squeeze over here once I turn my pen on. Okay, so for 17, what I'm going to say is, okay, f of x equals x cubed. Therefore, using the power rule, f prime of x will equal 3x squared. Now I'm going to evaluate that slope at a value of 1. So you're going to take your 1, plug it in where you had an x, and then square it. And so our answer for 17 is going to just be 3. Okay? Done. Okay, looking at 19. 19 I'm going to put over here. And 19 says that f of x equals 1 over x. And I remember I can't do my power rule if my if my variable is down in the denominator. So I'm going to move that first. So f of x equals x to the negative 1. Now take your derivative. So take note of my notation. It is critically important. Okay, so I told you it's totally fine to leave things as negative exponents. However, when you're trying to evaluate, it gets very confusing if they're negative. At least it does to me. So I always move them. So here I am down here in the denominator. Now I am ready. I'm going to evaluate that at 3, and I'm going to get negative 1/9. Okay, so that's all good. 2 down. Okay, so 21, you're going to take that derivative. I'm going to change color to give you a little contrast. So here's 21. If f of x equals 4x plus 1, excuse me, plus 11, then f prime of x will equal 4. Now, does it matter whether I'm at negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, or negative 4? No, it does not matter. So regardless of what value I plug in for my x, I always have 4. What is that telling me? It's telling me my slope is constant, which is what I knew if I look at it and say, oh, wait, that's just a line. So use what you know, and you should expect a certain result. Don't always be surprised. Don't always think it should be Christmas. Oh, yeah, that's an interesting answer. Figure out why you got that answer so that you're comfortable with what we're doing. Okay, so that brings us to 23. And notice another thing. I am writing down the original problem first. That's so I can see exactly what I'm working on. And I'd recommend that you do that as well. And notice my notation. Notice I just made a mistake. So I'm going to leave that this way, because what I'm doing is not taking a derivative yet. I am just rewriting this. So this is going to be x to the 1/2. Now I do my prime notation. That's going to be 1/2 x to the negative 1/2. Now this is 23. I have to evaluate it. So I'm going to go one more step and rewrite this. And this is this. So now let's evaluate it. So this is 1 over 2 radical 16. So I'm just going to go for the principal root. So this is going to be 1 over 8. Okay, and that's my final answer. Okay, so that's 23. So I'm going to slide down and work down below. So let's go for 25. Find the slope of the curve of y equals x to the fourth at x equals 3. You want to know that they're asking you the exact same question. They have just worded it differently. So it's all about you understanding what's going on here. Notice that it's not written in function notation. So let me show you something. You can use this notation if you like. Notice it's still a prime. That's my generic slope. Now we're going to evaluate that. I think I'll do this down below just to give myself a place to work. So this is going to be y prime of, so that's going to be a positive 3. That's going to equal 4 times 3 cubed. Okay, that will equal 108. Okay, another one done. Let's go on to 27. Okay, 27 says, if f of x is x squared, compute f of -5, that's your y value, and f prime, excuse me, f prime of -5. That is your slope evaluated at -5. Be able to tell the difference. So for 25, right away, I can figure out what f of -5 is by just taking my -5 and squaring it. And I'm hoping you're getting 25 as a positive. So that's what f of -5 is. That does not require any kind of derivative. Okay, then the next thing, they want the derivative. So now I'm going to say f of x equals x squared, and therefore f prime of x equals 2x. So f prime of -5 will equal -10. And I have both my answers, and that takes care of 27. Okay, I'm going to slide a little bit down. And let's look at 29. Same idea. And 31 is going to be the same also. Notice that for 29, this does not have a prime. So that's just your y value. This has a prime. That's a slope evaluated where x is 8. Okay, so here comes 29. So my f of x equals x to the 4/3. So let's go ahead and we'll evaluate this first. So I want to do f of 8. Okay, how am I going to do this? I don't want to grab my calculator right now. So I'm going to say x, and now look what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the cubed root first, then I'm going to raise it to the 4th power. The cubed root of 8 is just 2. So what is 2 to the 4th? If you think about 2 to the 4th, that should be 16, right? Because 2 times 2 is 4, and then 4 times 4 is 16. So this is just 16, and look, I didn't have to use a calculator at all. Okay, let's keep going. Let's find my f prime of x. That's going to be 4/3 x to the 1/3. So f prime of 8, right, is going to equal 4/3 times 8 to the 1/3 power. So I already know that the cube root of 8 is 2. So this is just going to equal 16 over 3. Excuse me, 2 times 4 is 8. 8 over 3. Let me fix that. So this is 3. So because this is 2, so 2 times 4 is 8 over 3. And that was f prime of 8. I'm going to box that off. And there you have it. Okay, so we're going to slide down a little bit more, and I can get 31 done. So 31 says if f of x is 1 over x to the 5th, I'm going to compute f of 2 and f prime of 2. So you should be getting comfortable with this pattern. So f of x equals 1 over x to the 5th. So therefore, f of 2 is going to equal 1 over 2 to the 5th. And I believe 2 to the 5th, isn't that 32? Yes. So this equals 1 over 32. So let's keep going. F prime, well, I'm not even going to go there yet. I'm going to rewrite this as x to the negative 5. Now I'm going to say f prime of x equals negative 5 x to the, which way you going? Negative 5 minus 1, you go more negative, so it's negative 6. Okay, let's write that in a way that I can actually work with it. So that's going to be negative 5 over x to the 6th. Okay, so now I'm going to say f prime of, and I was evaluating what, 2? Yep. Equals negative 5 over 2 to the 6th. So if 2 to the 5th was 32, this has to be 64. Let's see, have I done everything correctly here? Yes. Okay, so I think I'm good. Okay, let me just look at this, as I had something different written down, make sure I didn't mess anything up. So this was negative 5 because I brought it up. Yes, bring that down. Negative 5 minus 1 is negative 6. I think I'm good to go. Okay, so those are the first set of problems. I'm going to do a second video for the remaining problems from this assignment. So the second video will cover, let's see, so 33 to 39, and then I'll do 42 and 45 as well. Okay, so thank you for listening.